Sometimes Hollywood isn't enough for people and they need more artistic outlets to fulfill their soul. So these are some actors that you didn't know had bands or sang. Find out which Knight Rider star was bigger than David Bowie, in Germany at least, and no, it is not Kit. I'm your host, Nostalgic Nick, and I've got the answers, so it's time to jam out with our favorite stars, whether it sounds good or not. Bruce Willis, The Accelerators, Bruno and the Heaters. Before Bruce Willis ever shouted "Yippee-ki-yay, other buckets," he was belting out blues and sunglasses and a fedora. Yeah, that's right, long before Die Hard turned him into an action star, Bruce was busy chasing a different kind of spotlight.
Off into the sunset with Grace Kelly. Scary Cooper-esque. Yippee-ki-yay.
In 1987, just 1 year before Nakatomi Plaza became synonymous with Christmas movies, Bruce released The Return of Bruno, a full-fledged R&B album under the alias Bruno. They even had an HBO faux documentary that came out with the album. All about Bruno Radellini, a fictional soul legend who had secretly influenced all of rock and roll. It was part parody, part tribute, and surprisingly, part hit record. Now here's the kicker, this wasn't just a vanity project. Willis assembled a real powerhouse of real musicians, Booker T. Jones, The Temptations, and the Pointer Sisters. Now the album drips with funky bass lines, sharp horns, and Willis's gravelly-voiced croon that's more Memphis barroom and less Hollywood soundstage. The standout track, Respect Yourself, hit number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100 and even got heavy rotation on MTV. But it wasn't just that one song, there's also Young Blood. It also cracked the charts and proved that people were not just curious, they were genuinely into it. What made Return to Bruno work was that it never felt smug or forced. Willis clearly loved the genre. He played harmonica, he danced like no one was watching, and he even toured with a full band. And keep in mind, this was all during his moonlighting heyday, when he was still the smirking PI opposite Sybil Shepherd.
It was just a walking down the street singing, do what did it, dum did it.
He hadn't quite yet become that tough guy icon we know him in the 90s, but instead, here was a guy tapping into the legacy of Stax Records and Motown, throwing himself into the music with all the swagger of Wilson Pickett and none of the pretension. So, was it cheesy? Yeah, absolutely, but it was also sincere, and that's why it stuck. It was like your cool uncle showing up at the family reunion and actually knowing all the words to the Sam and Dave songs, instead of just drinking 15 Budweisers and popping a basketball. Bruce even kept the Bruno persona going for a bit. He leaned into the myth. The entire project, it felt like a love letter to a genre that he admired, wrapped in a bit of comedy and backed by real chops. Honestly, how many actors can say that their music career peaked with a top 5 Billboard hit before they even blew up an elevator shaft in Die Hard? He also had the non-Bruno band called The Accelerators that he performed with beginning in the mid-90s. And in 2003, Willis and The Accelerators visited Iraq as part of the USO tour, singing to the troops. So the next time someone tells you that Bruce Willis was just an action star, which isn't even that accurate because he was a comedy man before that with Moonlighting, or his teary-eyed guest appearance on Friends.
I'll give you one chance to change my mind. You got 1 minute.
I think Bruce is actually pretty versatile. I mean, how many action stars got a gold record while wearing sunglasses indoors and jamming with the Temptations? Yeah, exactly. Bruno walked so McClane could run barefoot on broken glass. Don Johnson, Heartbeat. We all remember Don Johnson as Sonny Crockett, the pastel-suited, speedboat-driving, stubbly icon of Miami Vice.
Sonny Crockett.
Hello, sir. How are you?
He didn't just define cool in the 80s, he helped invent it. And then he put it in cuffs. But while most of us were busy taping episodes on VHS tapes, Don was plotting a detour into music. In 1986, right at the height of his TV fame, he released Heartbeat, a full-blown rock album that sounded like Bruce Springsteen had taken a trip to South Beach. The title track, with its gravelly vocals and wall of sound production, reached number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100. And if that's not cool enough to blow your mind, cause it did me, he even recorded a duet with Barbra Streisand for the album. Yeah, Sonny and Babs together in perfect 80s harmony. The rest of the album leaned into high-gloss rock, soaring guitar solos, emotional crescendos, and lyrics about heartbreak, redemption, and midnight drives on neon-lit highways. But it wasn't a gimmick, this wasn't a joke. Don took it seriously. He toured, he promoted, and leaned into the role of rock star with the same intensity he brought to Undercover Busts. But while his music career didn't last forever, for a brief, synth-soaked moment, Don Johnson wasn't just acting cool, he was cool, vinyl and all.
I'm getting too old for these games.
Johnny Depp, Hollywood vampires. You probably know Johnny Depp best as the quirky oddball with a heart of gold, whether he's swinging scissors in Edward Scissorhands, mumbling through Guyliner as Captain Jack Sparrow, or just generally acting like a rock star trapped in an actor's body, drinking a mega pint of wine.
What are you doing?
No, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
No, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
But here's the twist. That rock star persona, it wasn't an act. In 2015, Depp went full glam and co-founded a real-life supergroup with none other than Alice Cooper. Oh, and Joe Perry of Aerosmith. The band, Hollywood Vampires, and it's as wild as it sounds.
Love you all night long.
The name came from a notorious drinking club of the 70s, whose members included legends like John Lennon, Harry Nilsson, and Keith Moon. Now, the modern-day vampires picked up where their infamous predecessors left off, only this time it was less about the booze and more about the music. Well, kind of. Okay, maybe equal parts. Anywho, the band began as a tribute act, covering songs by their fallen friends, but they quickly evolved into something more. With Depp on rhythm guitar and occasional vocals, they mixed classic rock covers with gritty originals. Now musically, Hollywood Vampires is a cocktail of hard rock, bluesy swagger, and theatrical flair. Think old school Alice Cooper riffs mixed with a garage band edge, all soaked in nostalgia and jet fuel. Johnny Depp doesn't just strum along quietly, he's fully in the groove, channeling his inner Keith Richards with a growl in his voice and a cigarette probably just out of frame. Their original songs like Raise the Dead and My Dead Drunk Friends are cheeky tributes wrapped in roaring guitar work and pounding drums. I mean, yeah, many were skeptical at first, but Johnny proved he could hold his own with two bona fide rock icons by his side. The band has toured internationally, released multiple albums, and attracted guest appearances from Paul McCartney, Dave Grohl, and many more. They're loud, they're unapologetic, and they're drenched in eyeliner and leather. On screen, Depp plays a pirate, but on stage, he is the outlaw.
Hey, Scungili!
Dennis Quaid and the Sharks. Most of us know Dennis Quaid as Hollywood's charming everyman, the confident astronaut in The Right Stuff, the lovable dad in The Parent Trap, or the aging pitcher chasing one last shot in The Rookie. He's always had that effortless charisma, like a guy who could fix your carburetor and make you laugh while doing it.
Inspired.
You do?
Brilliant.
Really? You do?
Totally. I mean, like, it's a dream come true.
But off-screen, Dennis had a long-running passion that took him far from the soundstage and straight onto the stage. Enter Dennis Quaid and the Sharks, a band with more energy than a double espresso and a southern fried sound to match. Though the band officially formed in the early 2000s, Quaid's musical roots stretch way back to his Texas upbringing. He played guitar in college, he jammed with friends, and he idolized rockers like Jerry Lee Lewis and Johnny Cash. The Sharks' sound is a lively blend of country rock, blues, and that unmistakable bar band drive. Music made for dancing, drinking, and maybe knocking over a table or two. And Quaid isn't just phoning it in between film roles. He gives every show the full rock star treatment. He jumps into the crowd, he wails on the mic, and he pours sweat like he's got something to prove. There's a wildness to his stage presence, part Jagger, part preacher, part Texas Roadhouse showman. Their set lists include original songs, but more cover-heavy tributes to Little Richard, The Doors, and of course Jerry Lee Lewis, whom Dennis famously played in Great Balls of Fire. And if you haven't seen that, check it out. It is quite possibly his greatest performance to date. What makes this all click, though, is how genuine it feels. It's not about Billboard charts or studio polish. It's about playing rock and roll the way it used to be, sweaty, loose, and loud enough to wake the neighbors.
To heaven, so I can't be staying long.
Kevin Bacon, the Bacon Brothers. You know Kevin Bacon as the guy who danced his heart out in Footloose, but long before the world turned him into a trivia night staple, Kevin was quietly building a second career, one with real heart, real music, and no Hollywood flash.
Well, that wasn't me. That was a character that I played, Red McCormick, in the movie Footloose.
Alongside his older brother Michael, a seasoned composer, Kevin formed the Bacon Brothers in the mid-90s, and their sound blends folk, soft rock, and country with just a bit of Philadelphian soul. The kind of music that sneaks up on you with its honesty. Think James Taylor meets John Prine, with lyrics about family ties, love, regret, and aging. Michael, a classically trained musician, brings finesse, while Kevin adds his raw storytelling voice with a heaping serving of heartthrob. But together they create something truly, deeply personal. They released over 7 studio albums, and they performed everywhere from coffee shops to Carnegie Hall.
36 cents and a couple of Fender medium flat picks.
And this wasn't just loved by fans of Tremors either. Critics praised the sincerity, the songwriting, and the musical chemistry between the brothers. Turns out, Kevin's 6 degrees connect just as easily to Nashville as they do Hollywood. So, while the rest of the world was figuring out how many movies connected him to Tom Hanks, Kevin was connecting with audiences in a more meaningful way. He didn't chase a record deal just because he could. He did it because he had something to say, whether it's a song about fatherhood or a quiet tune about letting go. The Bacon Brothers give you that sense that the fame never touched the music, and that's the whole point. Jeff Bridges, The Abiders. You know Jeff Bridges as the Dude, a cult icon who bowled his way into our hearts donning a bathrobe with White Russian in hand. But underneath all that slacker charm is a guy with serious soul, and not just for the screen.
You're Mr. Lebowski. I'm the Dude. So that's what you call me, you know?
Jeff's been making music for decades, writing songs even as a teenager, but things got official when he formed The Abiders, a band named after his most legendary line from The Big Lebowski. But this wasn't a gimmick, it was Jeff finally stepping into the role of the crooner and man does he deliver. The Abiders serve up a laid-back blend of folk, blues, and Americana, music that feels like a slow drive through dusty desert roads. Jeff's voice is warm and weathered, with that lived-in tone that makes every lyric feel really honest.
It's a woman like your kind.
It's the sound of a man who's seen a lot, kept it all in perspective, and still found time to strum a guitar. Jeff even released a solo album in 2011 produced by T-Bone Burnett, the same mastermind behind the Oh Brother Where Art Thou soundtrack. The album is equal parts introspective and earthy. It's not an actor trying to sing, it's a singer who just happens to have an Oscar. Jeff spoke about the similarity between music and acting, saying, quote, "When I'm performing music, it's like I'm doing a big improv. He doesn't just abide, he listens, he reflects, and he shares." It turns out the dude had a lot more going on behind those sunglasses than we ever guessed. Billy Bob Thornton, the Boxmasters. When you think of Billy Bob, you probably picture brooding intensity, whether he's mumbling ominously in Sling Blade or giving you the creeps in Fargo. But behind the camera glare and southern drawl is a full-blown music obsessive.
What's come between us?
In 2007, Billy Bob stepped out from behind the character roles and onto the stage as the frontman for the Boxmasters, a band with a name as old school as its sound. Their music is a unique blend of 60s British invasion pop and that Bakersfield style. It creates something that's half Beatles, half Buck Owens, but full swagger. Thornton writes much of the material himself, singing with a flat, earnest drawl that somehow makes even the most ironic songs land with sincerity. But unfortunately, not all the reviews are good. A reviewer from the Oklahoman highlighted their lack of variety, pointing to that monotonous vocal delivery that's the favorite of Billy Bob's. But one thing they do very well, however, is tour, and they tour hard. The Boxmasters have opened for heavyweights like Willie Nelson and ZZ Top. He's not just doing a Johnny B. Good cover at a rap party. He's out there writing, recording, and grinding. And if you give the Boxmasters a listen, you'll hear a man who clearly found his second act in music and brought along a whole lot of amps for the ride. Clint Eastwood, jazz pianist and composer. Now Clint's best known for his squint, his snarl, and the way he asks punks if they feel lucky. But off-screen, he's got a very different instrument in his holster. Long before he was directing Oscar-winning films or laying down justice with a .44 Magnum, Clint was playing piano, not just plinking around either. He's a legit jazz pianist with a deep, lifelong love for the genre. And yes, that includes composing original scores for several of his own films. Now Clint's music tends to sneak up on you, just like one of his film characters. It's understated, it's reflective, and it's quietly powerful. His work on Mystic River and $1 Million Baby features sparse piano lines and undertones that help tell the story without a single spoken word. It's moody, nuanced, and emotionally rich, much like Eastwood's own directing style. Beyond writing music, Clint's been a passionate supporter of jazz for decades. He produced the acclaimed documentary Thelonious Monk, Straight No Chaser, and he's personally funded multiple jazz-centered film projects. He's even sat in on piano at some small jazz clubs, just slipping onto the bench with the same quiet confidence he brings to the director's chair.
It's the best old painkiller since hurting began.
And for a guy known for playing really tough guys, his musical voice is kinda tender. Clint's musical legacy may not get as much attention as his film work, but for those who know, it's just one more reason to admire him. He doesn't just make our day, he scores it too. Richard Harris, musical storyteller. You might remember Richard Harris as the original Dumbledore, or maybe you recall his earlier days, chewing scenery in Shakespearean roles and commanding every room he entered.
Joe, she's gone too soon, gone to the moon.
But in 1968, Harris took a detour no one saw coming, straight into the psychedelic pop charts. That's when he released MacArthur Park, a 7-minute odyssey about lost love, shifting seasons, and yeah, someone leaving that cake out in the rain.
There will be another dream for me.
Written by songwriter Jimmy Webb and originally intended for the Association, the song found its match with Harris, who tackled it like a monologue from Hamlet. His delivery was theatrical, dramatic pauses, emotional trembles, and a total commitment to the surreal lyrics. It was part heartbreak ballad, it was part fever dream, but somehow it just worked. The track climbed to number 2 on the chart and became one of the most unlikely hits of the decade. Musically, MacArthur Park is all over the map, in a good way. It starts soft and orchestral, but it swells into thunderous strings. You couldn't even make sense of all the metaphors, but you don't have to. You just let it wash over you and felt everything he was selling. The song turned Harris into a temporary pop star, and while he never repeated that musical success, MacArthur Park remains a shining and slightly bewildering moment in pop history. David Hasselhoff, European pop star. Yep, David Hasselhoff, the chest-thumping lifeguard from Baywatch and the cool-talking car jockey from Knight Rider. He was American TV royalty in the 80s and 90s, with that perfect windblown hair and a theme song always lurking just off screen. But across the Atlantic, the Hoff wasn't just a celebrity, he was a musical phenomenon. In Germany, he was practically the second coming of Elvis, only with more sequins and a fog machine. Yes, I said more sequins, I know. It all peaked in 1989 with his single Looking for Freedom, a synth-heavy, fist-pumping anthem about personal liberation. But the timing couldn't have been more perfect. Just as the Berlin Wall was about to fall, Hasselhoff performed the song on New Year's Eve, standing above the wall in a blinking leather jacket, belting his heart out as fireworks lit up the sky. It was so over the top it could have been a deleted scene from Baywatch Nights, but the crowd loved it. Germany loved it. The song became a symbol of change. Now musically, Looking for Freedom is pure 80s Europop, bright keyboards, a marching beat, and lyrics simple enough to belt out in any language. But somehow, that simplicity kinda made it more powerful. It was cheesy, sure, but also uplifting, catchy, and weirdly sincere. The Hoff followed it up with a string of albums that went platinum in Austria, Switzerland, and of course, Germany. The Hoff even outsold Michael Jackson in some markets, no joke. Nowadays, it's easy to laugh off the idea of David Hasselhoff as a serious musician, but in parts of Europe, it's more than a punchline. He's kind of part of music history. Sometimes fame works in mysterious ways, and sometimes a man in a flashing leather jacket singing on a wall becomes an icon. Steve Martin, the Steep Canyon Rangers. Most folks remember Steve Martin as a wild and crazy guy from SNL. But besides being the funniest jerk, he is simply a guy with serious musical chops. Steve's been playing the banjo since the 1960s, and while comedy brought him fame, music brought him joy. In the 2000s, he teamed up with the Steep Canyon Rangers. Music would echo around my childhood room. A respected bluegrass band, and together they created something far beyond a novelty act. Now let's get one thing straight. Steve's banjo playing isn't just good for a celebrity, it's jaw-droppingly great by any standard. He blends traditional bluegrass techniques with complex original compositions, some laced with humor and others beautifully heartfelt. Their live performances showcase dazzling speed, tight harmonies, and that warm back porch storytelling vibe. And when Steve steps up for that solo, it's not for laughs, it's for all. Martin even won a Grammy for Best Bluegrass Album, which, let's be honest, is not something most comedians can say. What's especially unique about Steve's music is how it walks the line between serious craftsmanship and gentle wit. Songs like Atheists Don't Have No Songs bring a chuckle, while instrumentals like The Crow show off his finger-picking wizardry.
Atheists, there's no good news. They'll never sing a song of faith in their song.
He also doesn't hog the spotlight. He shares the stage generously with his bandmates and often highlights their talent as much as his own. There's real humility in his musicianship, and that's part of what makes it so endearing. So yeah, the guy from The Jerk and The Three Amigos also happens to be one of the most respected banjo players on the circuit.
Love has come for you.
And if any of you have ever seen Steve perform live, what was it like? Tell us your concert experience in the comments below. Rick Springfield, rock star first, soap star second. Alright, this one might be cheating, but who cares? Many don't realize Rick Springfield entered living rooms as Dr. Noah Drake on General Hospital in the early 80s.
All listen rhythm too, huh?
Of course, long before the daytime fame, Rick had already planted his flag in the music world. His first solo album dropped in 1972, and by the early 80s he wasn't just flirting with pop stardom, he kicked the door down. In 1981, Jesse's Girl hit the airwaves like a thunderbolt, earning him a Grammy and cementing his place in pop rock history. Jesse's Girl was more than a hit, it was the anthem of teenage heartbreak. And while yes, most people would be correct to first correlate Rick to music rather than acting, he was also successfully on TV for a few years, so I think he makes this list accordingly. Jared Leto, 30 Seconds to Mars. Most people first met Jared Leto as the dreamy bad boy on My So-Called Life, or later as the Oscar-winning chameleon in films like Dallas Buyers Club and Requiem for a Dream.
We need the bread.
Getting the money is not the problem, Harry.
But while Hollywood marveled at his bone-deep transformations, Leto was busy leading a double life as the eyeliner-wearing, arena-screaming frontman for 30 Seconds to Mars. Yep, he's a full-blown rock star who sold millions of records and headlined festivals worldwide. Formed in 1998 with his brother Shannon, 30 Seconds to Mars started as a passion project and quickly grew into something truly massive. Songs like The Kill, Kings and Queens, and This Is War became staples on hard rock or emo radio, backed by cinematic videos and Leto's soaring vocals.
Whether it's pain, pleasure, good and hard times, we might go round and round, and I won't back.
His performances are intense, part preacher, part punk messiah, often climbing scaffolding and screaming into the void like it owes some money. What else do you expect from the guy who never breaks character even while filming Morbius, requiring a wheelchair to take him to the bathroom between takes? Yeah, the crew hated it, and so did most audiences, but it's hilarious. And if you're wondering whether the music is just a hobby between films, think again. 30 Seconds to Mars has gone platinum and even broke a Guinness World Record for the most live shows during a single album cycle. So yes, Jared Leto can play a Joker, a drug addict, or a fashion-forward vampire, but when he grabs a mic and starts belting under a wall of lights, he becomes something else entirely. He's not moonlighting as a rock star like Bruce Willis in many ways. This guy has been one all along. So, which of these Hollywood rockers totally caught you off guard? Did you ever slow dance to Heartbeat or secretly belt out MacArthur Park in your car, not knowing it was Dumbledore all the while? Have you ever seen any of these side projects live in concert? Would you like to, or are they all novelty acts worth a bin? Please get down in the comments section and tell us all your thoughts on these Hollywood bands. If you enjoyed our episode today, which we sure hope you did, we had a ton of fun putting this one together. Please hit that thumbs up icon, it really helps our channel a ton. Make sure you're subscribed so you never miss a memory. But most of all, from my entire team here at Do You Remember, thanks so much for watching, and have a rockin' day.